two grandchildren, and they're going for their second shot, la segunda vacunación. Once parked, Dr. Trevino joins other doctors and nurses on the bus, where the shots and crying begin, followed by gratitude from adults who got the shot too, like Josefina. Oh, you have hypertension and diabetes, and so this is very important for you. Muy importante entonces para usted. On the way back, arm, y lloraste. No lloraste. Eres fuerte. You're strong. Wow, you play baseball. That's why you're so strong. Nuevo Laredo's mayor, Carmen Lidia Canturosa, says the children's vaccination.
Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
It's Monday. I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And it is the 13th day. We're at Valentine's Day Eve.
Oh, goodness. You got big plans, Bill?
Oh, yeah, we certainly do.
Hey, that's good. That's good.
Yep. Going down to New Orleans to have a big dinner.
I was like, really? This is the first time hearing of it. Are you going to have a
Gulf Stream? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can't wait. But it's the fantasy world I live in. Meanwhile,
I want to live there too, Bill.
Yeah, but glad to have you aboard on this Monday morning, Monday the 13th.
Oh, how ominous.
A little better than halfway through February. Here we go. So,
and it's a short month, so we really
through.
are pretty. Yeah. It's going pretty quick.
Yeah, it certainly is. And it went pretty quick last night. Finally, I think this is the best Super Bowl ever. Played like championship games ought to be played, right down to the wire, just like the Georgia-Ohio State game. That when Georgia, of course, the real championship game was the basic blowout. But this is how championship games ought to be played, right down to the wire. It wasn't a lot of people want to make it a controversial call toward the end, where the cornerback for Philadelphia, James Bradbury, got called for holding but he admitted afterward. He said I was hoping they were going to let it go. And even the play-by-play, color guy on Fox was fussing about it a little bit. He said, "Oh, they should have let that go." No. Well, it was a violation. He admitted it. He didn't challenge the call. They didn't complain about it then. Nor did the Philadelphia coach, other than just saying, "Oh God." And so that allowed the Kansas City Chiefs to have another set of downs. And they used them wisely, eating up the clock in the last few seconds, and then a last-second field goal with about 8 seconds to go to win the game 38-35. What a game!
Yes, I was happy to see that the Chiefs won. Like I said, there's a special place in my heart for Kansas City. It's a great city, so I'm glad that they took that home, and it's probably very exciting, and there are going to be many celebrations in Kansas City.
Oh, yeah, and there were even in Philadelphia. We said, well, at least in Philadelphia, they won't be rioting if they won.
Oof.
Wrong. Yes, sirree. From the city of brotherly shove, they were out there causing all sorts of havoc and problems. I wish that the police would start getting these 18-wheelers, start backing them up into these streets and just start loading these people up and taking them someplace. I don't care where, just someplace. Maybe not in this country. Spraying them with, getting some of those old water cannons that they used to have from the fire department, filling them with indelible red ink and spraying these idiots.
Well, I saw a video of a guy, they were watching the TV, and when Kansas City made the field goal, the last minute, it was a huge big screen TV. Maybe we'll play this clip tomorrow, but he lost his mind. He threw his cup at the TV and then continued to beat on the TV, smash it, pull it off the wall, and crush it in half because they lost. It is a game, Bill.
Well,
it's crazy.
When all is said and done, it's like Brittany said, it's a game. Okay, your life hasn't changed.
Well, I think he bet a lot of money.
Well,
and I think
he may
that's,
have.
Yep. I think that's where,
maybe you should have taken the points.
Yes,
whatever it was.
Yep.
But sorry about that. That's what happens when you bet.
Yep. So it was kind of one of the craziest videos I've seen. I was like, okay, there's A lot of anger towards that. And
then,
it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, and then the people of Philadelphia living down to their reputation, tearing up the place. Only felt sorry for Steve McGill, the English teacher at Davidson Day School up in Charlotte, North Carolina, where my granddaughter and one of her friends raised $8,000 to get him a Super Bowl ticket and trip to the Super Bowl. It's the only guy I felt sorry for. Okay,
yes. but what an experience he got to have, right?
Oh yeah. I'm sure that will be the trip of a lifetime. Taking a look at some highlights as the game progressed yesterday. As Philadelphia scoring first, we saw two great quarterbacks, and Patrick Mahomes of Kansas City, who was playing with that bad.
A lot of big bodies in there. Take a look how many guys are inside there. Got to go for it. Surging forward is Hurts. No signal yet. There's a penalty flag in the middle of that. Nothing was signaled as of right now. Yeah, offside. Will be declined. Results of the play. Touchdown. And so there you go. It is a touchdown. They talk it over. Hurts on the quarterback sneak. He gritties off to the sidelines. And another opening drive for a touchdown for Philly. I mean, I think Chris Jones, you can see he's lined up in the neutral zone, but it doesn't matter. The defensive line's going low. The linebackers are trying to go high. I mean, take a look at this picture. I mean, offensive line coaches throughout the world are rejoicing. I mean, that's pad level, leg drive. That's like Pop Warner day one, and there's nobody in the NFL better. Jake Elliott, extra point is up and good.
We're coming down to the end, and Philadelphia lost it with that holding call on James Bradbury that gave the Chiefs the extra downs that they needed to run out the clock and get it down to 8 seconds. Their field goal kicker, who had missed earlier on 47-yarder that hit the goalpost, hit the upright and bounced to the left instead of going through, and that could have been a big deal. But he nailed the winning kick, and that's what you get paid for. And so the Kansas City Chiefs once again are winners of the Super Bowl for the second time in 4 years. And another interesting aspect, you had two brothers playing against each other for the first time in history. You had two black quarterbacks going against each other for the first time in history. We always make a big deal out of that. And you had the flyby. From the U.S. Navy was all female pilots, so I know you'll sleep better tonight. We're celebrating diversity. Actually, I think it's a pretty big deal, but nevertheless. Then we had another first in the coach for Kansas City, Andy Reid, was the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So he beats his old team.
That probably felt pretty good.
Yeah, beats his old team. And but kudos to the Philadelphia's coach, a very young coaching staff, and they have turned that team around in 2 years. It's just been phenomenal what he has done. So congratulations to them. But once again to the commissioner of the NFL. I can't believe they renewed this guy's contract for the amount of money they pay this idiot. But Roger Goodell. Let's knock it off with the halftime crap. We don't need all of this. We don't need all these shows to delay the game a half an hour. These shows go on for a half an hour. The teams get cold. It makes a difference. And also, they sometimes mess up. It wasn't bad enough that this field had so darn much paint on it that the players were slipping and sliding like they were on ice without skates. It was just unbelievable. The halftime show was just with Rihanna. I thought, what was she wearing?
Yeah, I think we can take a look at that right now.
Oh, goody gumdrop. I do want to see it again because it once wasn't enough. As
It's a different dynamic. I think, into football, they look forward to the halftime show, but I do think it's gotten long years, and I think the more, I don't know, the bigger they've gotten, I think you're right. I think the cleanup on the field is kind of a little bit different. I think it does impact the football players, so going back to more simplicity, I think, is probably a good thing if they're going to continue to have these halftime shows.
Just come out, have them come out in one of their greatest hits and get the field. And by the way, whoever this guy that sang the national anthem, that was pathetic. And then, of course, but they did climb every mountain or baby or whatever it was or boy that. But now we got the field pile for quarterbacks to each other. We got the two brothers that played against each other. A coach who his form was going against. Although I do, there was maybe Super have been more Colts. Was all coach of the New York. So I may be. Again, the first time the coach two different teams going in the Super Bowl of the Yeah, water fountain thing that shoots up and goes and it's that part. Where is it? So it's going to be very. They kept. There were a couple of them where we had these things where they're still trying to push these electric cars down our throats. How wonderful it is! I think Kevin Bacon or somebody was doing one of those spots for Hyundai, and he was trying to tell us how wonderful it was that you could charge up your Hyundai 80% in 18 minutes. You're traveling. And you have to stop every couple of hours to charge up your car for 18 minutes. A long road trip is going to take you 2 days to get to Atlanta.
The thing is still mind-boggling to me. I don't know anyone that's like, what's really fun? Sitting getting my car charged. It gives me time to, look at my phone more, go through Facebook and,
Or I could go in and spend.
They make their money, although.
Yes, sir.
At Get Real America, we'd like to thank the Southeast Georgia Republican Assembly for all their efforts on making a difference in our communities.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork.
And we were standing outside for a while, and when Kirk actually walked up, and everybody was yelling and waving to him before they took him back, through the secret entrance or whatever, through the green room or whatever you want to call it. And kudos to our library for allowing him to do this, because he's been refused at some of the libraries around it. The communists that run the American Library Association, they ought to change the name to the Chinese Library Association or the North Korean Library Association, because he was either thrown out or refused to occupy their space or rent a room or anything to give his wonderful Christian message. But it was okay for them. He said he was thrown out of some places where the week before they'd had these drag queen and drag shows for kids,
which we have had at the Bull Street Library.
Oh yeah.
So,
but at least they let him in.
Yes, I was very excited to see that, and I would say his messaging to the kids was really, really great. American values, love America, love freedom. I thought it was great.
What a sensational presentation! I been a huge Kirk Cameron fan ever since he was Michael Seaver on Growing Pains back in the '80s, and one of those teen heartthrobs. And he talked about the time. I knew he was an atheist, or at least an agnostic.
Yes.
And then became a Christian when he said he suddenly was part of the ultimate. The ultimate surprise or ending for us. At 10 out of 10 people die. So
he did say that in a speech on
where are you going to
night.
spend eternity? Yeah, I'd heard him some years ago when Bill O'Reilly was still doing the O'Reilly Factor. Before the Me Too movement came along and ran him off on a rail. But he was on with Bill O'Reilly talking about his Christian walk and and how it all came about. I didn't know all the particulars. I didn't know that he and his wife had adopted 4 children.
I did know that because we interviewed the gal that told her story about her being able to give her kid up for adoption. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason I knew that. And
then being told that you've got to get all these different boosters and everything else. So it's not a vaccine, it's a shot. A vaccine actually cures things. We had the vaccine for smallpox, went away. we had the vaccine for polio when I was a kid. I got the Salk vaccine shot when I was in the 2nd grade at Charles Ellis Elementary School. And they didn't tell us 6 weeks later we had to get a booster shot. Polio went away. So it really was truly a vaccine that actually worked. And there were I never heard of any side effects whatsoever. And polio was a badass disease.
Well,
still is.
Well, also, Bill, I think that something to consider is that this was approved for emergency use authorization. So everyone that took it was really testing it on themselves, right? Anyone that took the vaccine, it takes 5 to 10 years for a reason, because they want to see what side effects happen. And we're in what, year 2 or 3? Are we
maybe going into the 3rd year.
Yes.
And we did have, Buddy Carter was one of those who volunteered to do it. Also Dawn Baker, good friend of mine, anchor at WTOC, the CBS affiliate here. And she was one of those who was in that experimental group. And so far, I think, she's neither Buddy nor Dawn have had any side effects so far. But we're seeing people now start dropping like flies that are in their 20s and 30s. And the head of the American Undertakers Association saying, we're seeing things from autopsies we have never seen before, from blood tests of some weird-looking clots that we have never seen. And these are people that see a lot of dead folks.
Yeah, Bill, I think that there's going to be that we see them get approved in. So this was very unique in the way that they got these through and convinced people to take them. So, we'll keep you updated on things that we're hearing, but I think there's a lot more that's going to come out regarding the vaccines.
And bad luck for ET as we come back, putting down UFOs. Are they? What's going on here? That's next on Get Real America.
Gracias. Thank you.
What's wrong, mijo?
Donating to a pet's medical care can keep families together. Pets and people belong together. Learn more at petsandpeopletogether.org.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934. With personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
Heading down the home stretch on this Valentine's Day Eve. Bill Edwards here.
And I'm Brittany Brown.
And right up the road from us in Walterboro, South Carolina, week 3 of the Alex Murdaugh double murder trial.
Which I thought would wrap up in week 2. So
Yeah. But the state called Matthew Weil to the stand on Friday. He's an FBI supervisory special agent, an expert on historical call data analysis and also cellular analysis. He testified on location and movement of the cell phones of Alex, Maggie, and Paul Murdaugh. and using the cell tower data and on-the-ground testing of other resources. And his testimony showed that Alex Murdaugh's phone was in the general vicinity of the Moselle crime scene at 6:40 in the evening, until about roughly 9:10 that night, and the phone was more south of the property, but close to the border of the estate. And Murdaugh's phone then moved toward his mother's home around 9:30 or so. Testimony and data concludes with other evidence and testimony that puts Murdaugh at the crime scene during the time of the investigation. Investigators believe that Maggie and Paul were killed. So explosive evidence going up against Mr. Murdaugh.
Yeah, well, and I think that there was a Snapchat with him in the background as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of evidence against him. I don't think he's going to be getting out of this one, Bill.
And some folks who were on that swore under oath that they heard his voice in those conversations. So it's not looking good for old Alex, and he should get. I think he should get 30 days in the electric chair, but that's just me. But he'll spend the rest of his life behind bars anyway.
Yep. Well, he'll also be living off the taxpayer, which
there's
don't love that. But
yeah, so thanks much, but because he owes about $8 or $10 million from to clients and others that he stole money from.
Yes, and I think he's been trying to move money around and doing all sorts of shady stuff behind the scenes too, since he's been in jail. So. You know, I also am just like there's not a lot of evidence to show that he's not guilty. So there's a lot of evidence that leads me to believe that he is very guilty of this crime as well as the others, and people deserve justice.
The circumstantial evidence is pretty damning.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, what evidence do we have that we've got these UFOs that are flying around that China says are weather balloons in some cases, and we don't know in other cases, and they're not telling us. In fact, they're not telling us they're balloons anymore. They are objects.
Yes. Well, Bill, one of the things that I'm concerned about is we're going to continue hearing. I think we've heard of 4 in the last week of these, and one of the things I'm worried about is it's going to
exactly.
It's the same thing, and that's what I'm really worried about is what is that going to look like?
Yeah, it just happens that the more you do this stuff, the more it seems to be sort of routine.
Yes.
And that we've been shooting all these things down, and we don't know what they are. Well, then what were we shooting them down for? Why didn't we find out what they were before we started taking shots? If they were UFOs, maybe what they could shoot back would be something even more devastating. But that being said, we want to know what these things are, and they shouldn't be over our airspace. And letting it go over our airspace when the Chinese it was just a weather balloon. They were just gathering weather data. Well, they need to gather weather data over our top secret military installations because that's where these things went. They weren't gathering data on how the homeless are in San Francisco and Los Angeles are polluting the water by defecating into sewers. So we got raw sewage running into the rivers and lakes and the oceans out there. We didn't gather any data on that. They were deliberately flying over top secret military installations.
Well, the good news for you, Bill, is that Jean-Pierre has a wonderful explanation for what happened.
Good old cringe Jean-Pierre. BSDNC. Let's take a look.
Why is the American military shooting something out of the sky over Canada?
Because it's part of NORAD. There is the NORAD is part of it's a what you call a coalition, a consortium,
a pact of nations.
A pact,
okay.
Exactly. And so that's why we were able to do that. Again, we didn't do it on our own. We did it clearly in step with Canada.
We did it with Canada.
Canada, yes. You got to watch out. That's one of our new allies.
Oh my gosh, she is something else. Mm-hmm. She is something else. Every time she speaks,
your IQ goes down.
Yes, it does.
And you notice she's reading. I love it when she comes into the press conference. I don't think they show it much anymore, but she comes in with this book that.
It was all tabbed out.
To it. Just just a few notes. She didn't read you 3 pages of an answer from the reporter that she called on specifically.
Yeah, Kayleigh McEnany was one of the best press secretaries I think we've had.
There is no doubt.
And to have him have Jen Psaki and then Jean-Pierre, I'm like, these are 2 of the worst we've ever had, I would say.
Jen Psaki at least was a good liar.
You know what? And she would always circle back.
Yeah, she would circle back. Yeah, go circle back, Psaki.
Yes.
And now, of course, she gets. Isn't it amazing how all these people that you see from the Democrat side get hired by all the networks? You've got George Stephanopoulos, who was Bill Clinton's press secretary and advisor, gets this big job with ABC. You have Jack Tapper, yeah, that guy. He was part of it. Or the former press secretary for the Dalai Lama, who's married to one of the top NBC reporters, and he was also a reporter at Time magazine before he got the job, one of the great communist publications of all time. And so all of these people are getting these. The press secretary for Ted Kennedy became the president of NBC News. This
just has to be bad.
On and on. So and you wonder, and you say the news isn't slanted. It's slanted so far to the left, you have to watch it lying on your side most of the time.
How are we allowing that to happen? I mean, I don't think if you're working in government in that capacity, there's got to be something we can do, Bill. I mean, the media has really done so much destruction. And when you kind of hear how all of this is played out and that they're coming from these administrations.
And yet when Donald Trump called him out, well, this is bad for America. This is dangerous that he is criticizing the free press.
Oh, yes.
But yet they're trying to run Fox off the air. They're trying to run Newsmax off the air.
Well, they basically took Newsmax down.
Out.
OAN also got taken off. I believe.
Somebody is suing Newsmax, or somebody's suing AT&T, which carried Newsmax.
I believe it is Newsmax.
Somebody is. There's somebody else. There's another group that's suing AT&T for that.
Well, good. The one thing that has always stuck with me too in the last couple of years that I heard is the process is the pain. They don't care if they win or lose. It's the process that they want to put you through because it is so painful. And people don't want to be in the court systems. I mean, the court systems here it takes a long time to get things through. I mean, how long has Murdoch been in jail?
Well, and it's like, you see all these lawsuits that get settled out of court, the out-of-court settlement where somebody said, a company said, okay, these people are accusing us of this. We didn't do it, but if we go through the court, even if we win, we are going to lose more money than if we go ahead and pay them $25,000 or $500,000 or whatever it is that they want. It's going to cost us a lot less to do that. And then they say, listen, this is not an admission of guilt. And the public says, oh, yeah, it is. So it's one of the best speeches I ever heard at college was when F. Lee Bailey, at the zenith of his career, came at the law school, brought him in for a speech that he called "The Defense Never Rests," and he said, "It's interesting." He said, as a defense attorney, he says, "I'm never congratulated for seeing to it that justice was done. That I'm only congratulated for getting the person off, which carries its own implication." And he said, "You're supposed to be in the United States of America innocent until proven guilty." He said, "That's one of the nicest fallacies of the law." He said, "Usually people are considered guilty." He said, "Otherwise the police wouldn't be accusing them."
Correct.
So he said, and I thought that made a lot of sense. He said, "I'm never congratulated for seeing to it that justice was done, but only for having gotten the person off, which carries its own implications."
That's pretty powerful, Bill.
Yeah. So that's where we stand, and that's what happens when somebody gets accused of something. And we had a basketball coach here at one of the prominent schools that was accused of abusing a kid, and on his basketball team. And he was completely exhausted because the father got mad because his kid was disciplined, and it was kind of corporal punishment, got a little whack on the butt or something like that with one of those little paddles. And when he was cleared, that part made front page news. When he
Right.
was cleared, that was on page 14.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course,
Yeah.
because they want the sensationalized thing on the front page. They don't acquitting someone. That's not exciting. So let's just continue to have him have a defamed reputation, which I think is wrong, Bill. But.
Exactly. That's going to about wrap